You can now subscribe and save 20% off with a Strava Craft Coffee subscription. That's right. Sign up for a Strava Craft Coffee subscription. Get that coffee delivered to your door every 2, 3, 4, 6, or 8 weeks and save 20% off every single time. No need to worry about putting your credit card number in. No need to worry about running out of coffee. Strava Craft Coffee will sign you up and get that coffee sent straight to your door whenever you want it, so you never have to worry about it again. It is a great deal, and you save 20% every single time. If you just want to try it once and see if you like it, you can, of course, use that code DNVR20 to get set up. But either way, check out Strava Craft Coffee and get in on this subscription deal. It is awesome. Let's jump into the show.
Number one for the one and only DNVR. 2 goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number 4 we're still waiting for. Well, bring on the chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. Couple with a breakfast crew and a friendly orange and blue till the bitter end. Come and join us at the DNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast on a Hawaiian Shirt Friday. We finally got 100% execution on Hawaiian Shirt Friday. Feels pretty good, boys.
It does. It feels great, guys, and nothing's going to bring me down today. We got Black Friday, post-Thanksgiving vibes, the beginning of Christmas finally here, and, of course, some Broncos football in just 48 hours.
You hope there's Broncos football in 48 hours. That's the thing that could bring everybody down today.
That's true. I mean, isn't it fitting on a day called Black Friday that we have some positive COVID tests going on in the Broncos headquarters and practice is canceled?
Yeah, it's definitely dark. But before we get into all that, I want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver. Go to msudenver.edu/online to check out all they have to offer. With us likely headed towards another stay-at-home. Don't want to jinx anything, but at least that's what it's looking like. Obviously, already restaurants closed. A lot of people going to be spending a lot more time at home these days, and what better time than now to further your education with a degree from MSU Denver Online. So again, go to msudenver.edu/online to scope out all they have to offer. We're talking 40-plus online and hybrid programs. We're talking 750 total classes, all sorts of great stuff at MSU Denver. So check them out.
My boys, what's up? Regardless of the news today, I'm happy to be joined by you to enroll with you today into the weekend.
Absolutely, and we're going to get to that. But before we do, let's just start off nice and slow. How was your guys' Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was fantastic. Very untraditional, but had a pretty normal meal, guys. I'm happy to report I did have some turkey. It was about the size of my pinky, but threw some cranberry sauce on there and had some turkey on Thanksgiving.
So, as a noted turkey hater, I got to give credit where it's due. My dad, which he always does. I don't know what he changed this year, but he made another smoked turkey this year that slapped. I had the leg with some gravy on there, that nice smoked skin on the outside, and it is absolutely the best turkey I've ever had. So big day for turkey in my life.
Okay, well, the thing is, Zach, sorry, and I love the fact that you guys did smoked turkey up there, RK, but Zach, are you a seafood guy in any way?
Yeah, I like seafood, definitely.
Okay, the first Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims, of course, they were not too far from Cape Cod Bay, right?
We went over this.
Yes, exactly. They had lobster and clams. So what are you doing? Just go get yourself a lobster tail and boil it up.
I'm all for that. And guys, when I really decided that I was out on turkey, and actually I got to give credit, the pinky size of turkey I had was actually good. But when I decided I didn't need any more, was when my cat, who eats everything, including the Brussels sprouts we had yesterday. He wouldn't have any turkey, just walked away from it, turned his nose to it. And I said, man, if this guy's not eating it, I shouldn't be eating it.
Oh.
There you go. Well, Zach, you can cook whatever you want on Thanksgiving, especially when you do it solo. Anyways, I was thinking, just sitting here with these Hawaiian shirts on makes me already want some Hawaiian rolls with leftovers, which are waiting for me for lunch. So I'm excited for that. All right, let's move on to the real stuff. Some breaking news out of Broncos headquarters today. Zach, why don't you get the people filled in?
Well, yesterday, of course, Jeff Driscoll tested positive for COVID-19, went on the COVID-19 list. The Broncos practiced as usual, although it was a shorter day because it was Thanksgiving. This morning at 4 a.m., news comes in that the Broncos had another positive test from a player, and 2 more staff members tested positive for COVID-19. We're still waiting to find out who those people are, but the Broncos canceled practice today, closed their facility, are doing everything remote the rest of the day.
Yeah, and it's worrisome. And there's a lot of this stuff going on across the league right now. Of course, Ravens, Steelers, supposed to go on last night. That's not happening. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen at all this week. And this is kind of the week that the NFL has been dreading. Obviously, you had the early season stuff, and they were kind of able to dodge it just barely from having to make any full scale changes to the schedule. But now we are trending towards a place where we might have to see something like that happen.
Yeah, and what's interesting, one of the things that we don't know yet, we want to know is the nature of the positive tests for the Broncos, because, of course, as Vic Fangio noted yesterday during his Zoom press conference, that the Broncos had, they'd been in contact with the league. They checked with Dr. Alan Sills, the league's chief medical officer. They'd gone through the contact tracing, the close contacts of Jeff Driscoll, and determined that it was that they felt it was safe to go ahead and practice. So indeed, they did practice yesterday. But where did these tests come from that are causing the cancellation today of practice? Are they separate? Is it somebody getting it from the outside, or was this a close contact that maybe wasn't around Jeff Driscoll for 15 minutes, but was around him for a few minutes? And that's why we're kind of, we don't have a lot of information right now. And so we're kind of flying blind on this, but I would have to assume that if that of these 3 positive tests, that at least one of them is tied to Jeff Driscoll. Otherwise, I wonder if they would have just tried to go ahead with practice.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point, Mace. And of course, the elephant in the room is, what if it was in that quarterback room where it happened to spread? When Vic Fangio was asked about if he was concerned about the other quarterbacks getting it because of contact with Jeff Driscoll, he said, we did have a few people show up on the contact tracing, but it was 2, 3, 4 minutes, nothing more than that. So that's encouraging that if quarterbacks had close contact with Jeff, that it was only for a couple of minutes. But guys, I'm not going to speculate and say it, but you just cross your fingers that it isn't Drew.
Absolutely. That would be, absolutely brutal for Drew, for the Broncos, for the NFL. The list of starting quarterbacks being out starts to pile up. Now you probably have coaches and GMs looking around at each other saying, hey, this is getting a little ridiculous. So it hurts the product when quarterbacks aren't out there. It's bad all around. So yeah, you keep your fingers crossed. You obviously don't want anyone to get it, but as we know that there are a couple who we don't know who they are yet, you certainly hope that the quarterback is not one of them. Yeah.
Now the thing is here, I wonder what our reaction would be, and what even the league's reaction would be if we weren't talking about this on the heels of what's happened in Baltimore, where it's become a full-scale outbreak that now includes Lamar Jackson, but has several Ravens players and staffs dealing with positive tests right now, which is why that game on schedule for Thursday night didn't happen then, and even playing on Sunday is in jeopardy. In theory, if the Broncos let's say one of their other quarterbacks has a positive test, but then the other two don't and are adjudged to have not had close contact with Jeff Driscoll, then in theory, I mean, it would stink. But if you had, say, either Brett Rippon or Blake Bortles or Drew Lock, if one of those quarterbacks had a positive test, but the other two didn't, and the other two didn't have close contacts, then in theory the game would have to go ahead. Even though if it was Drew Lock, then you would be talking about the Broncos playing without their starting quarterback. But the system, it is designed for some buffer here. And that's why you have an expanded practice squad, and that's why you have the flexibility to call guys up. But the question just is now, are we seeing the start of a cluster of cases that came from one person initially? That's what you're on pins and needles about right now.
Yeah, and you certainly hope it's not that.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, we still have a game to preview, and with us not having any information on any possible cancellation for this game or who might be out, we'll just go along with our preview and hope that it turns out to be accurate. It's a very 2020 conversation to have. I know my buddies who record a Buffs podcast had done their full USC game preview yesterday, and then of course that game gets taken right away, and there's a whole new game in a matter of an hour. So that's just the world that we live in this day and age. I will say we got an easier opponent, so I'll take that.
Yeah, looking at 3-0.
Hopefully, touch wood. San Diego State isn't terrible.
Well, in theory, in theory, if that happened and the Broncos had to pull out, in theory, you'd be looking at Saints Steelers, which actually I think the entire nation would love to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot what I was going to say.
No, sorry about that.
I was just going to say the Buffs are trying to colonize like all of California. You got UCLA off the board. We got Stanford. Now we're going into the Mountain West. Grab one of theirs. Hopefully we maybe get USC later and we can get that one, although I don't think that's going to happen. So there you go.
If you get a rescheduling with Fresno State or San Jose State, you can call it a day, I think.
All right. Sounds good to me. Anyways, Broncos going to take on the Saints this weekend, we hope. And it's going to be an interesting game. We've talked a bit about this throughout the week. But let's just start here, Zach. What is the single most important ingredient to a Broncos win against the Saints?
Oh, boy. It's going to be running the ball, and running the ball effectively. I mean, you don't have to do the 5.5 yards per carry that the Broncos did last week with both Melvin Gordon, and Phillip Lindsay. But if you can try to get around that 4 yards per carry, that would be a huge win in my mind. But that also means that you can't be running the ball 15 times. You have to be running the ball 25 times at 4 yards per carry. Try to get to that 100-yard mark, and it's not going to be pretty, but you know what it does? It keeps Drew Lock in the way that he likes to play. It allows him to then do the boots and do what he was successful last week. You want to have a very similar game plan as what you did last week. If you put up 24 points like you did, well, that's going to be good enough. And 20 points may be good enough. That's what you need to do in this game because it's going to help your defense. It's going to help Drew Lock, and it's going to help the running game. Guys, if you're averaging under 3 yards per carry, and the Saints are the best in the league, averaging only 3.3 yards per carry on their defense. If you average under 3 yards per carry, you're probably going to be running the ball, just looking at recent history, 12 times, 15 times. And what we've seen is that is not a successful formula for Drew Lock. He cannot put this team on his back week in and week out where he is right now. And also the Saints pass defense is pretty darn good. So you're going to have to establish the run and keep up with that in order to have a chance in this game.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that it's about the frequency of the running and being just enough, I think, to make the play action a viable threat. And that's why I think you run. You run to set up play action. You run because you hope that those jabs that maybe you can get in a full body blow at some point again in the game, one explosive run later on. Because what's interesting, the two teams that average 4 yards per carry against the Saints, it wasn't enough to get the dub. So it wasn't simply about just how many yards you had in terms of yards per carry. Now, I think you mentioned earlier this week, Zach, both the teams that went over 100 yards, the Saints are 1-1 in those games. But the other key number is getting to more than 25 carries, because the Saints, they're only 2-2 when teams run the ball 26 times or more on them. And oh, by the way, in those games, they gave up 34, 27, 37, and 23 points. So it has been key to offenses having some level of success against this stingy defense, having just enough of a running attack to make them to make them play honest, and to make sure that you can set up the play action game. So you're running to set up other things. You're running to make life easier for Drew Lock or whoever the quarterback ends up being if Drew has a positive COVID-19 test.
Yes, and I'm with you guys that running the ball is the be all end all in this game. But I actually think it's on the other side of the ball. I think that the key to this game is you have to slow down their rushing attack. You are going to have to run the ball to have success on offense. But to me, the Broncos only win this game in a low-scoring slugfest where neither team is really running the ball that well. Comes down to a couple big plays here and there that change this football game. If Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara and those guys are out there running the ball at a great clip, they're going to possess the heck out of the ball. You're going to put a ton of pressure on the Broncos offense. They stop the run well enough that Drew is going to be in some 3rd and longs. I just know it. And it's going to make this an extremely difficult game for the Broncos to win. So to me, they have to win 1st and 2nd down against the run on the defensive side of the ball. Or else this thing is going to be extremely difficult to win. I can see the game right now where the Saints are possessing the ball, and even if they're settling for field goals, they're having 6-7 minute drives, and then the Broncos there's so much pressure on the offense that they're now Pat Shurmur's running on 2nd and long, trying to run the clock a little more, and now you've got 3rd and long, and it's just an ugly game. So you gotta win against the run on the other side of the ball, in my opinion.
And Ryan, I totally agree with you on that side of the ball. Here's the game plan that I do if I'm Vic Fangio. The exact same one that you did last week against Tua. You bring pressure, you bring heat. Try to get Taysom Hill. He's more experienced than Tua, but in terms of a quarterback and getting starts, he's still very young. Pressure, pressure, pressure. That pressure will also help stop the run. Put 8 guys in the box, and you know what? Michael Thomas is an incredible receiver, but you trust your guys. Bryce Callahan's playing Pro Bowl, All-Pro this year. AJ Boye, he's been beat this year, but man, it seems like he's there every single time. The Broncos haven't really consistently given up the big play over and over. So they may have one big play that happens, but you know what? I totally agree with you, Ryan. Stop the run, load the box. Don't let Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara beat you on the ground. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And then when they drop back to pass, I'm bringing pressure. Try to get Taysom Hill uncomfortable, because Sean Payton admitted to us on Wednesday that Taysom Hill was a little jittery, wasn't fully settled in the first quarter of that Falcons game. And what happened? It was a very close game after the first quarter. Then he settled in, he got comfortable, and he wasn't making mistakes. He was doing everything efficiently, just as Sean Payton asked for. Don't let him get comfortable. So do exactly what you did against Tua.
Even then, I think there's a couple of soft spots that concern me. And you imagine that to counter that blitz, they're going to try to set these up as the hot reads. And of course, that is covering a running back like Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, covering a tight end like Jared Cook, and also when you've got a Sang Bassi in the slot, who is he up against? And if I'm the Saints, even though Emmanuel Sanders doesn't particularly care for this, but if I'm the Saints, I'm setting Emmanuel Sanders up in the slot from time to time and saying, you put up with this, you're going to feast, because Sanders wants to have a huge day at the Broncos' expense. He's primed for this game.
Is there any rivalry there? Do you think there should be some bad blood on the field, maybe between Emmanuel and some Broncos?
Man, I really wish Chris was on the Broncos for this game.
I mean,
or Cortland. I mean, he got into the fight with Cortland at practice last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, neither of those guys would be on the field for the Broncos. Yeah. Kareem Jackson Could see him clashing with Emmanuel in the locker room potentially.
And Kareem will get to clash with him big time. He'll get to lay a boom this week.
Is there any bad blood between Emmanuel Sanders and Jerry Jeudy for Jerry claiming that Emmanuel that he was teaching Emmanuel a few things in the offseason?
I doubt it.
I could see Emmanuel being a little upset by that quote.
Or maybe he's like, oh, this guy's wearing number 10 and people might remember him more than they remember me.
I would bet on it.
Yeah.
I would take those odds. Although Emmanuel does have a Super Bowl ring, which is going to be tough for Jeudy to match up with. All right. Any other keys to this game that worry you in terms of the Saints? Obviously, we know they stopped the run really well, and we expect them to run the ball really well. Any other things that you think the Broncos really need to be aware of when they head into this game?
Well, really quick right now, guys, news coming in from Mike Kliss that it is Deontay Spencer who is going on the COVID list. So you're not going to have your returner out there. That puts more pressure on young guys like Tyree Cleveland in the return game and KJ Hamler as well. But it's a relief that it's not in the quarterback room.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Although you want to know who the staffers were as well. I mean, again, is that a contact with Deontay or with Jeff Driscoll or not? The other thing that is interesting is ordinarily we would know where these guys sit in the locker room, and we don't because we're not in the locker room right now. And so close contacts could be just from hanging out in the locker room and talking for 3 or 4 minutes, even though, they've got the dividers. We see occasionally in the video that comes out that sometimes the social distancing goes a little bit astray when a guy posts on Instagram or TikTok or something like that. So, that's a key thing here. So you do wonder if he got it from Jeff Driscoll or not, but still it's a bullet dodged, and you can figure your way around not having Deontay Spencer. You'll probably have Tyree Cleveland up on Sunday on kickoff returns and punt returns. You can send Bryce Callahan back there to be a punt catcher.
There you go. If you had Mace to be the first one of us to bring up TikTok on today's show, you just cashed a big ticket. So congratulations to you. Another important discussion we have here, I think producer Kale has this. Broncos tweeted out a graphic yesterday, and I need to know your guys' answers for this very important debate. Here we go. Which Thanksgiving table are you sitting at? Is it table 1? I'll read this for the podcast listeners. Table 1, Bradley Chubb, Kareem Jackson, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy. Table 2, Noah Fant, Brandon McManus, Garrett Bowles, Von Miller. Table 3, Phillip Lindsay, Justin Simmons, Bryce Callahan, Cortland Sutton. Or table 4, Drew Lock, Dalton Reisner, Melvin Gordon, Alexander Johnson.
That's a good one. I've got to go with table 2. I think it's gonna be the goofiest one, and that's what it's about.
I'm table 3 all the way.
Wow, all 3 of us are different. I love it.
I think table 2 and table 3 I think are going to have the most interesting discussions, and I mean that like not necessarily funny, but just kind of insightful. But I love the mix of guys at table 3 with Phil and Justin and Cortland and Bryce Callahan. I think Bryce is going to be kind of the quiet one there, but I can see some interesting banter developing between Phil and Cortland and Justin.
Zach, why do you go table 2?
Man, I mean Brandon McManus, Von Miller, and Garrett Bowles. Those are some goofy guys, and Noah Fant's gonna have some fun too. So I just think it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, those guys, there might be like a food fight at that table. Those guys are such goofballs. I'm going table 4 because I feel like this is the party table, and that's what I'm trying to do. So Drew and Dalton, those guys can have a good time. Melvin Gordon, for better or for worse, we know he knows how to have a good time. And Alexander Johnson is a goofball himself. So I feel like this table is going to get a little rowdy for Thanksgiving, which is right up my alley.
Well, what's funny is my number 2 would actually be table 1, something that none of us chose Man, KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy, their chemistry right now is pretty good. And speaking of goofballs, KJ Hamler is a fun guy.
Yes, there are no bad tables here for sure.
Yeah.
Kareem Jackson is a goofball himself. He doesn't usually show it to the media, but when you see videos of him behind the scenes, you know that he's a funny guy. So hopefully you'd get to see the real Kareem Jackson. And then you have double KJ there, KJ and Kareem Jackson. Bradley Chubb is also great to hang out with. And Jerry Jeudy's another one who doesn't really show his personality much to the media. But if you ever see, I'll be the second one to bring up TikToks or Instagrams. He looks like he's a funny dude. So great tables across the board for sure.
Yeah, they would
go ahead.
Oh, they would all make great TikToks, guys. I had to say it. I couldn't be the only one to not say TikTok in this pod.
3 for 3. Mace, do you have a TikTok account?
I haven't. I do, but I haven't done anything on it until yesterday. I posted a video of one of my puppies in slow motion to the sound effect from the $6 Million Man / the Bionic Woman, because my puppy is jumping from off the floor onto an ottoman and it gets some serious air underneath. And it just, when I shot video of it of Ruby in slow motion, I'm like, I feel like I'm seeing Steve Austin from back in the day. So I put that sound effect on there, and that is my only TikTok so far.
Zach, do you have any TikToks?
I don't have any TikToks yet. Probably
you're the
need to
only
step
one
it
of us
up.
who hasn't posted one.
Oh man!
Did you get a Thanksgiving one?
I didn't. I should have TikToked my video of the canned cranberries in slow motion. I don't know if you saw that, but Allie recorded a slow-mo video of me pounding the bottom of the can to get the cranberries out, and then you get to see the slow motion jiggle of the cranberries when they hit the crystal dish.
Wow, man! I didn't know Thanksgiving was for slow-mo videos.
Yes. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a huge trend right now. Come on, Zach.
You're kind of moving in slow motion as well on Thanksgiving after you've had all that food, and after dinner, all you just want to do is collapse on the sofa. So slow motion, I think there isn't a more appropriate day for it than Thanksgiving.
That's very true. I have to go all the way back here to early on in the comment section. This one came in from Rick, who said, I made RK's mac and cheese. Delicious. I love to hear it because I was actually worried. No one reached out to me last night and said, hey, I made it and it was great. I was pretty self-conscious about it. I know my family loved it, but I was thinking, man, maybe my family's just weird and this doesn't translate to other Thanksgivings. But at least we got one who liked it.
Man, I trust you, Ryan. But also, it's mac and cheese. It's got to be great, right?
Yeah, a combination of pasta and cheese – it's tough to screw up, but I will say, when I go to restaurants, I usually don't like their mac and cheese. The cheese is never cheesy enough for me.
Yeah. There's
some really boring mac and cheeses out there. I'm not gonna name names, but Chick-fil-A or a couple other ones. Dang it! I need more cheese flavor, not just more cheese. You got to work hard to get that actual flavor in there.
Now, let me ask you something. Since you're a mac and cheese connoisseur, at what age did you move past Kraft macaroni and cheese being the creme de la creme?
I was pretty young when that happened.
Okay.
Because I discovered Annie's mac and cheese, which is better than Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah, because my daughter is 8, and we've tried Annie's, and we've done the other things. She is fixated on Kraft macaroni and cheese. We actually tried this one that was actually kind of Cheetos flavor, and I really liked it, but she didn't. She has to only have this one thing. So she goes to a restaurant and she won't order mac and cheese even if it's on the menu, even though she loves it here because she will only have the Kraft. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah, I got off the Kraft when I discovered Stouffer's. You throw it in the oven for an hour, get the sides nice and crispy. So good.
The point of Kraft, though, is that it's quick. You've got the box, and you can have if you boil it up on the stove top, you've got it ready in about 15 or 20 minutes. But you also now have these single serve
instant packs.
Yeah. And you're eating in 3 or 4 minutes, and those actually are the winner at the house. So we'll go to Costco and just buy 40 of them and stick them in the pantry and in the garage and wherever, and then she'll just inhale them over time. Because that's the other reason why we get those is she has informed us that while she enjoys macaroni and cheese the first time, she does not like it redone the second time. She doesn't like reheated, which, again, I don't understand, because when you reheat it, you put a little extra cheese on there and you make it gooier.
Yep.
I don't get my kids sometimes.
I actually upgraded my recipe yesterday, and I used to do canned green chilies and jalapenos that I add to it, but I went fresh green chilies and jalapenos in there, and it took it up another level.
Oh, man.
Nice.
I mean, we're just after 10 a.m. and I'm dying for some delicious food right now.
I'm hungry.
Me too. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up things on the live side. But before we go, want to let you guys know to head over to the DNVR Locker. We have an insane sale going on right now. Our Black Friday sale is live. And, I mean, you're getting shirts for up to 80% off. If you haven't become a member, there's an insane membership deal where you buy a membership for $59.99 and then you get a $60 gift card to the store. There's just tons of insane deals over there. So head over to DNVRlocker.com, see all that we have to offer, and go quick, because shirts are quite literally flying off the shelves as we speak. So check it out. And of course, hit us with the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. We always appreciate that. But for right now, we're going to head over to the podcast side of things. Catch us there anywhere you listen to podcasts.